Faces, young and old alike, timeless examples of what has, for more than a century, breathed life into the mission of the Knights of Ak-Sar-Ben. Its people. Drawn together for a common purpose of hosting a successful state fair in Omaha, 12 businessmen purchased the Mardi Gras floats from New Orleans and transported them back to Nebraska in March of 1895. On the train ride back, the Founding Fathers determined that everything in the state seemed to be going backwards at the time. So, why not reverse the name of their beloved state? A Catholic priest traveling on the same train suggested the domain of Ak-Sar-Ben be known as the Kingdom of Quivira, since Omaha was close to where historians believed the kingdom once existed. Thus, the Knights of Ak-Sar-Ben Foundation was established. The original members of the Board of Governors were comprised of 4 business professionals, 2 clothing merchants, 2 grocers, a telegraph executive, a druggist, a newspaper editor, and an attorney. They gave of their time without pay and developed 3 focus areas for the organization. First, to bring together leaders of the city and surrounding communities to present an annual festival. Secondly, to provide attractions such as street pageants and parades of great magnitude during the days and nights of the State Fair Week. And thirdly, to present a magnificent coronation ball in October as a symbolic harvest celebration. The fabled kingdom would be governed by a king selected for his civic contributions and leadership. The queen would be selected by the civic contributions of her family. Funding for the event came from business solicitations, the purchase of annual souvenir badges, and a membership fee for participation in entertainment opportunities, such as the Coronation Ball or stag den shows. Memberships in its inaugural year totaled 554 businesses. Over the next 20 years, membership grew 3-fold, and in 1919, the organization sought to build a permanent community center to serve and entertain the Midwest region on 200 acres of land between what today is 63rd and 72nd Streets. A mere 2 years later, racing was introduced on a new 1-mile track. Revenues helped offset the cost of the Coliseum and adjoining barns that were dedicated in May of 1928. November marked the first stock show with 450 head. The Ak-Sar-Ben Foundation continued its 3-pronged focus of making a difference in the areas of agriculture, civic service, and education. Ak-Sar-Ben extended the bonds of friendship between Nebraska and Iowa in 1938 by purchasing the Douglas Street Bridge for more than $2 million and providing free access to the public. The organization also purchased ice compressors and pipes to install an ice rink in the Coliseum. That purchase sparked the addition of a professional hockey team, the Ak-Sar-Ben Knights. Events at the core of the foundation, the coronation, membership, and den shows, all continued, fueled by more than 7,000 members until the onset of the war. Several thousand Army vehicles were housed on the facility between 1942 and 1946. The organization held various fundraisers to support the war effort while beginning the shift to support scholarships for youth. Over the decades that followed, Ak-Sar-Ben grew in prominence as both an organization and a place. The foundation in 1976 contributed more than $1.2 million to 62 agricultural, charitable, and educational programs. Less than a decade later, in 1982, the Ak-Sar-Ben Foundation reached an apex, reporting its largest membership with 71,635 members, civic contributions of $1 million, and $5.7 million paid in taxes to the state of Nebraska. During the years that followed, memberships and racing revenues declined, until the members of the Board of Governors gathered to develop separate futures for the Ak-Sar-Ben Foundation and the Ak-Sar-Ben facility.
The mid-'80s, I guess, somewhere in there, when the dog tracks were talking about opening over in Iowa. If you think about it, cutting anybody's revenue by a third is a major blow to their business. In addition to that, horse racing is a lot more expensive. The cost of raising, training, developing horses, maintaining facilities for horses is a lot more expensive than the dogs or the dog tracks. As the revenues were reducing, why at the same time we weren't able to compete because of our cost structure. Ak-Sar-Ben really found itself in the shape where it had a business that was not cost competitive, and we were losing our constituency.
The members of the Board of Governors made the decision to gift more than $17 million in land for redevelopment. A portion of the property was eventually donated to the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and today, the Peter Kiewit Technology Institute is changing the face of Omaha through its world-renowned programs.
I think after racing pretty well deteriorated, why Ak-Sar-Ben struggled a number of years trying to determine who they were and where they were going. I think in recent years they've been better able to find themselves and what they can do and what they can contribute to the community, and I think they will be a major factor as a community organization going forward, and I wish all the people that are involved in it well.
The balance of the original Ak-Sar-Ben property is slated for development into housing, hotels, and entertainment districts that will complement the surrounding neighborhoods. The Knights of Ak-Sar-Ben Foundation in the fall of 2002 had come full circle. The organization arrived back at its core strength, the leadership of its members. Today, the Ak-Sar-Ben Foundation has the largest governing board participation in history. 3 levels of members provide support. The Ak-Sar-Ben Friends is the membership arm of the foundation. Annual dues support community college scholarships and community grants. His Majesty's Council includes members of the region who are leaders in their community. Individuals are invited to join, and they meet as a group a minimum of 4 times a year. The Board of Governors is the highest level of membership. Individuals are invited to join and are either president, CEO, or chairman of their company. The programs of the Ak-Sar-Ben Foundation in this new century mirror the core values developed by the founding members. The 3-tiered focus of the Ak-Sar-Ben Foundation includes recognizing volunteerism, celebrating our heritage, and developing a vision for the future. Programs in these areas support the mission of building a more prosperous heartland where communities can flourish and every child can succeed. Recognizing volunteerism is at the core of the annual Coronation Ball that is held each October. More than 2,000 people attend this event, which raises funds for scholarships. The 250 members of the Court of Honor, and the Monarchs are all selected either for their individual contributions to the communities or, in the case of the younger members of the Court, those of their families. The event is an elaborate stage production that returns the crowd back to the Kingdom of Quivira for just 1 night a year. The event has a 2-fold purpose: recognizing individuals for their selfless deeds and raising scholarship dollars to support our young leaders.
I can't tell you how pleased I am to be here today with my daughter and my granddaughter and for this occasion, because we are Ak-Sar-Ben people. We love this organization. We think it's great, and we think it's going to continue to be a fine organization. But it's especially pleasant because Jeannie was not only queen but ball chairman, and now Laura is on the ball committee, and so the family is still represented in Ak-Sar-Ben, and I'm delighted. The impact that Ak-Sar-Ben has had on my family has certainly had an enormous impact at the time that I was queen. It was the summer of 1936, and I was 20 years old. And of course, the way I got to be queen was because my father was a successful and very, very generous contributor to philanthropic causes. So I'm standing now at the portals, waiting to go out, waiting for my music. And Jake Isaacson was the manager of Ak-Sar-Ben, a wonderful man who was marvelous, in every way. And he was standing beside me, and I said, "Jake, who's the king?" He said, "Nobody told you who the king was?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, it's Bert Murphy." And I said, "Well, who's Bert Murphy?" And he said, "Oh, I don't have time to tell you now. Just go out and have a good time." So I walked down the long aisle, and Mr. Murphy and I had a wonderful time together. He was a bachelor, retired from his business. He had a driver whose name was Pete. And Pete and I and Bert and I, we anytime Ak-Sar-Ben asked us to do anything, we said yes. We had many, many trips out into western Nebraska. We never did go in western Iowa, but we made many, many trips and had made a lot of friends out in western Nebraska. They were happy to see us, and we were delighted to be with them. It was a wonderful year. I loved every bit of it. And we were good emissaries. We were good ambassadors. They enjoyed us. But after we had the parades, and in those parades downtown with the floats and all were fantastic. And people came out of their offices and all along the parade route. It was the thing to do. In 1936, the races had the longest meet of their time, 33 days. And of course, the races funded all of the philanthropic purposes of Ak-Sar-Ben.
I was a princess of Ak-Sar-Ben in 1964, and then I was queen in 1965. The purpose of the Coronation Ball before 1988 was recognition of families for their community involvement and for their philanthropy. And then after 1988, it became twofold. One is not only to continue honoring families for their community service, but also to raise money for scholarships. And that is still true today.
A recent partnership with the Horatio Alger Association is changing the face of the scholarships, with more emphasis placed on diversity and financial need, as well as an increase in overall scholarships awarded from 20 to 100 annually.
If Ak-Sar-Ben went away, I really truly believe there would be a vacuum of volunteerism and of community good, because it takes a catalyst to make a change.
Ak-Sar-Ben has been something that has been instilled with me as a child, and it's a part of our life, it's a part of our family, and to carry on this legacy is a huge honor. And just to have my grandmother and my mother here today is just a reminder of that.
Ak-Sar-Ben did for me, it put me in a position to do something in the world, and in this city anyway, and do something philanthropic to help. I hope I've done something to earn it.
The second focus area of the organization is celebrating our heritage. Programs such as the Pioneer Farm Awards recognize farms that have been in the same family for more than 100 years. And events such as the 4-H Livestock Show and River City Roundup support this area. The Ak-Sar-Ben Stock Show, founded in the 1920s with just 450 head, now includes more than 1,500 4-H'ers from 8 states, competing with over 3,000 entries. The event annually supports the 4-H youth through contributions of $250,000. As the umbrella event over the livestock show, Ak-Sar-Ben's River City Roundup is comprised of 3 core events: the livestock show, the Pro Rodeo Summer Finale, and the Douglas County Fair. Held each year during the last week of September at Quest Center, Omaha, this event draws 100,000 people. The rodeo, one of the 4 major events in the sport, is televised by CBS Sports. All of the Foundation's events are fundraising endeavors to support its charitable causes. True to its core, all of the events are run by a volunteer army of more than 500 people. The final focus area for Ak-Sar-Ben is vision for the future.
The three primary pillars of the Ak-Sar-Ben organization are the celebration of philanthropy and community service, the maintenance of the history of this area, the heritage of the Midwest, and then very importantly, providing the vision for both political and business leaders to get together and make things happen in this region that otherwise wouldn't happen if they're left to one of the other parties. Well, I think there's a lot still to be done downtown. People have talked about trying to connect the airport with the Old Market, Quest Center area, and the zoo and Rosenblatt Stadium with some form of mass transit that would allow guests to our city to move easily between those venues. They're so close together that it sounds like a logical potential. There's a lot of activities in South Omaha and North Omaha that need to be brought together for the betterment of the overall community. I think that's an area that Ak-Sar-Ben can play a real role and help bridge the political gap with the business community. It's typically those kinds of projects where you need the combined energies of the business and philanthropic side of our community as well as the political that Ak-Sar-Ben can play the greatest roles, I think.
The return of the Omaha Ak-Sar-Ben Knights American Hockey League franchise to Omaha was part of the Board of Governors' belief that providing entertainment and sports opportunities are vital to attracting and